Winston Thomas, a loving husband, a proud father, a veteran of the Midlands County Police Department, yet all his wife and daughter have left are photographs, just like this one. Members of the jury, that's because of a plan put in place by two partners in crime. A man by the name of Cameron Poole and this defendant, Whitney Bowman. See, on August 30th of 2012, they had a plan to steal from Rocker World, an amusement park located here in Midlands where Mr. Thomas worked security. Now on that morning, their plan, it seemed simple. Cameron Poole, he would hold the ticket booth up at knife point. Whitney Bowman, she would help him get away. For Officer Thomas, though, the day started like any other. But once Cameron Poole held up that ticket booth, he knew that he had a job to do. He had to stop him. But Cameron Poole, he knew that he had something to do as well. He had to run through the emergency exit door of a ride at the park, called the Tunnel of Terror, a ride that this defendant would make sure she was operating. You see, Whitney Bowman saw as Cameron Poole and Winston Thomas ran into her ride, and once Cameron Poole was safely across the ride's tracks, she turned out the lights. And in that darkness, the moving cars slammed into Officer Thomas, pinned him against a wall, left his body battered, and his bones broken. Because of the choices made by partners in crime, Winston Thomas lost his life that night. That's why we're charging the defendant with 3 criminal counts today. Theft by deception, robbery in the first degree, and because Mr. Thomas died in the commission of that robbery, something known in Midlands as felony murder. Now, you won't hear today that Whitney Bowman ever held up a knife to anyone or physically took any money and ran, and that's because we don't have to prove to you that she did, through a legal concept known as complicity. What complicity means is that if someone helps, or even tries to help commit a crime, they're just as guilty. Today, the evidence will show that the defendant was complicit, therefore guilty of these crimes. Today, it'll become clear to you that this case is all about a plan put in place by two partners in crime. And we'll show you how their plan worked by showing you its setup, then its execution, and finally its cover. You'll learn all about how it was set up today from Miss Tyler Hartman, a frequent visitor of Rocker World, who will tell you that she overheard a private conversation between the defendant and Cameron Poole just days before the robbery happened, where the two of them talked about needing money and having a plan. The evidence will show that the defendant gave Cameron Poole a knife, saying, "You know where it is when you need it," and said that on August 30th, he had an insurance policy in the form of an escape route. You'll learn today that that escape route was the emergency exit door of the Tunnel of Terror. And then we'll show you how the plan was executed from Mr. Billy Isaacs. We'll tell you that on August 30th, the defendant did something she had never done before. She insisted 8 separate times that he leave work early so that she could take over the Tunnel of Terror instead. When that didn't work, she lied to him to get him to leave. Members of the jury, you'll also see today how the defendant tried to cover it all up from Officer Francis Kimball. And he'll tell you that he spoke to the defendant within minutes of the robbery happening and was lied to. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Members of the jury, at the conclusion of today's trial, we're confident that you'll return the only verdict supported by the evidence. And that's why later, at the trial's conclusion, we'll ask that you find the defendant guilty of these 3 charges. Because this case boils down to a plan put in place by 2 partners in crime. Thank you for your time today.